Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to do a shorter format video. Something I've been wanting to do for a while is trying to post more frequently, but with shorter videos where perhaps you guys can just follow along with my own kind of morning drawing routines that I do, where I study anatomy, I study figure drawing and gesture drawing. Some mornings I do master copies and emulation studies of other artists, and I wanted to do more of these videos where essentially it could feel like an open figure drawing class where you can just join in, follow along if you want to. I'll try to post the reference when I can. And as I'm drawing, I can try to share little tips and ideas here and there that I hope you find helpful. And yeah, hopefully this will be a format that we can all enjoy together. Of course, I would love to hear your feedback on it and let me know if you do like this format or if I should try something different. Right now I'm just diving into some warm-ups to warm up my wrist and my shoulder. I'm using Photoshop here, drawing with a Wacom 24 HD Cintiq. I got this Cintiq, I think it's been like 17 years ago. I actually bought it off a coworker of mine and friend who's a 3D character artist, and honestly I've loved this and haven't found a need to get a new one. Maybe I should. I don't know. I guess I fall victim of habit. So, but I know you can buy a Cintiq like this that's used for quite a bit cheaper if you're wanting to try this out. I don't think you need to buy a brand new one. I've had a lot of people ask me what file size do I use when I'm sketching like this. I might be going a bit overboard, but I usually like 10,000 pixels by 7,000 pixels. I find that it makes the drawing experience a lot more fluid and smooth. Kind of gives the line more of a buttery feel. You don't see any artifacting or kind of low res lines or marks. And I feel like I have more space to do compilation pages where I can shrink, different sketches that I do, move them over to the corner and add another layer, do another drawing, move it over, and then when I zoom in, because it's that resolution, it's still going to be a decent quality. Anyway, that's my preference. For those of you who are new to Photoshop, I've had people ask for videos on Photoshop, like what hotkeys and shortcuts I use. One hotkey that I use a lot is I hold down Control and then hit T to pull up the transform tools. That way, when I hold down Shift and grab a corner like this, I can universally scale the image that I'm working on, and that's really nice. Again, I can kind of shrink something and move it over to the side. So I can hit Control and T, hold them down at the same time. And if you don't hold down Shift when you grab one of these corners, when you move that box around, it actually either squashes or stretches the image. So you can try moving things around that way, which is really helpful. And then if you right click on your mouse, it pulls up these these transform tools: scale, rotate, skew, distort, perspective. I use the perspective a lot. Perspective is nice, like it can help you adjust the tilt of a figure or a drawing. You just click on that center box, and then you can move it to the left or right to adjust the perspective of your image. You can grab a corner, and you can almost create like a vanishing point to your sketch and have it recede in space, or have it recede the other way. So I find that tool to be very helpful. Or you can use the warp tool just to kind of play around with the shapes and try different things. I know a lot of artists do that. So those are very, very helpful tools to use in Photoshop that you might as well use if you're drawing digitally. And another tool that's super helpful is the symmetry tool, which is found at the top of Photoshop. There's a little butterfly icon. Click on that, then you just click vertical. You can do vertical or horizontal, but what it does is it mirrors what you draw on one side on the other side. And this is extremely helpful. Let's say if you're drawing let's say you're drawing a skull and you don't want to draw both sides, or you want to make sure that it's, you know, it's symmetrical and has good structure. Using the symmetry tool is very, very helpful for that. And don't feel like this is cheating either. It's actually not very easy to use. Initially, it takes a little getting used to, but once you get some experience using it, it certainly saves you a lot of time. And honestly, when you're working as a professional illustrator or concept artist, you want to use every tool at your disposal to speed up your pipeline, speed up your workflow, so you can ideate faster and, you know, get what your art director or your client is wanting, you know, according to the deadlines you have. So you don't want to have this mindset like, oh, I have to do everything from scratch and everything by hand. That's just not the industry or the world we live in today. So, you know, try to learn these different tools that save you a lot of time. Anyways, we're not here to draw skulls. But I just wanted to show you that tool. It's really helpful. In fact, I think we'll use it for our first anatomy sketch here. Yeah, let's see, what are some other quick tips? Another hotkey, which is one that you want to do a lot, is Control S is to save your current image. And so if I do that right now, Control S, it's automatically saving my image. I don't have to do Save As because I've already saved this file. So that's something I do actually frequently or periodically throughout a drawing, is I just do Control S, Control S, Control S. And that way I lower the risk of losing a bunch of work in case Photoshop crashes or my computer shuts down. That's probably one of the most helpful hotkeys to know. Here, I'm going to take off the symmetry tool here. Another really helpful hotkey is if you're wanting to resize your brush quickly, you use the bracket keys that are just north adjacent of the Enter key. And as you can see here, if I do the right bracket, it makes the brush bigger. If I click the left bracket, it will shrink down the size of my brush. And that way you don't have to go to the toolbar to adjust the size. That's extremely helpful. Um, to zoom in and out on your canvas, something that you should do often, you hold down Control and you either do minus to shrink the size of the canvas or plus to increase the size of the canvas. So yeah, those are some hotkeys that I think are extremely helpful that you'll probably use a lot as you're drawing or working digitally. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and dive into these anatomy exercises. This first image, I'm going to use the symmetry tool to help save some time, and also to give you an example of how to use this tool. So here we have a front-facing torso. This is kind of the prime opportunity to use the symmetry tool. So again, I'm going to start off with a light gesture or a lay-in sketch. So I have something to build on top of. Doing a light sphere to indicate kind of the shape of the rib cage and the upper torso. Then I'm going to do some light tapered lines to show me the placement of the arms. Okay, so with that, now I can go in and I can start chiseling away at this physique here. This particular model is from Proko, timertool.com, and this model, as you can see, is very muscular, and it's nice to work with muscular models when you're studying anatomy, because everything is so defined and easy to see. It allows you to to study the anatomy a lot easier. But of course, once you also want to study from heavier set models and skinnier, leaner models that don't have a lot of muscle too. But for me, if you're wanting to learn how to draw the muscles, a fit, lean, muscular model like this is a good place to start. So I'm going to block out the arms here. See the latissimus dorsi muscles, and then in front of the lats we have the serratus muscles here, and you can see the rib cage, and below that we have the external obliques. There's that little muscle underneath the pectoralis major. I'm going to go ahead and just lightly indicate where the nipples are, and I'm going to accentuate that overlap of the pectoralis major over the lats and the biceps. So that's one thing you want to pay attention to. I know I struggled with this a lot as a beginner. I didn't know, like, especially when I was drawing out of my head, like, oh, does the bicep overlap the chest or does the chest overlap the bicep? I didn't know what overlapped what, and I made a lot of amateur mistakes. I would draw uh, the biceps overlapping the chest, and always looked kind of weird. Then I can do this gestural line that shows the division between the anterior deltoids and the upper pecs. And that actually feeds into this little furrow here. And that's the infraclavicular fossa. And that's a nice little landmark to look out for. And now I'm just blocking in the clavicles as they feed into the sternum and that midpoint of the chest. You can see a little bit of the striation of the pectoralis muscles with this model, which is pretty nice. And now I'm going to add some form to these chest muscles, just adding like a soft edge. I guess one thing that's kind of hard to do is shading when you're using the symmetry tool, because when the light source is coming from one side, you don't want to have the symmetry tool on. I'll block in the navel. And now we're doing the abdominal shield. And once you have that blocked in, you can do those little division lines for the individual muscle packs of the six-pack. I guess you'd call them. I'm not sure. Go back to the arms. Here we got the biceps, and they feed into the pit of the arm, where you have the ridge muscles here on the left, and then on the medial side, and when I say medial, that just means the area that's closest to the center of the body. We have the kind of the flexors coming down here. And I'm going to do a little overlap here to show that the ridge muscles kind of overlap the triceps. Okay, we'll see how there's that nice overlap of the neck, overlapping the trapezius muscles. This here, that's the trapezius. And then we see an indication of those neck muscles, the sternocleidomastoids. And then let's see where that chin line is. Then below that we have the larynx, or the voice box. Get a little indication of that. I'll just kind of block in. I think that's good for now. Yeah, it's interesting. If you look at this image, his right trap muscle is actually larger than his left trap muscle. Yeah, that's interesting. So I guess we can kind of, we're using the symmetry tool, so we'll just make them symmetrical. I'm going to use more straights to block out the clavicles there. It's helpful to use kind of your hard edges and straights when you're doing the bony landmarks, and then use kind of the curves when you're blocking out fleshier, fattier parts of the body. So you get a nice flow and variation from hard surfaces to soft surfaces. Okay, so I think this is a pretty good start. I'm going to take the symmetry tool off now so we can, symmetry off. And now we can kind of go in and label what we've drawn here. Before we do that, I'm going to just add a little bit of lighting here, some cast shadows and core shadows, to give it a bit of asymmetry, which visually is usually more interesting. You know, even when you have a symmetrical design like this, you know, adding little variations that give it some asymmetry, make it more visually interesting. So this part of his arm is very occluded, and then there's a hard cast shadow here. I'm just going to block that in. Here we can kind of see an indication of the brachialis muscle. The brachialis is a supporting muscle of the biceps. It underlies the biceps and it sits between the biceps and the triceps. Brachialis. Adding a little bit of form to these stomach muscles. Here we have a nice cast shadow or core shadow on the rib cage here. And then that would transition into a cast shadow being casted by the chest muscles here. We have a strong cast shadow here at the pit of the arm. And another core shadow here on the bicep, the medial side of the bicep. Block that in. Little core shadow there. So again, these are the these furrows here are the infraclavicular fossa. And this muscle here behind the neck is the trapezius. And see this little bony landmark here? That's the side of the clavicle bones. And they flow down into the pit of the neck, where they meet up with the sternum, which we can't quite see here because this guy has such a muscular chest. Then these neck muscles here that kind of angle down into the pit of the neck are called the sternocleidomastoid muscles. You can see I'm definitely kind of abstracting and simplifying the lighting on this guy quite a bit. It's more like a comic book approach to lighting. If you do it right, a lot of these shapes will interconnect and create kind of more solid shapes. You don't want to have too many breaks and discontinuations with your shadow shapes and your light shapes, or it'll get kind of muddy. Just to indicate those nipples a little better. And here you can see that the rib cage overlaps the latissimus dorsi muscles. So let's label those. We'll just say lats for short. And here we have the external obliques. Okay, I actually think we're gonna call it. Again, I'm trying to make these shorter format videos. Again, this is with the hopes that I can create these with more frequency. And again, I'm going to include the reference in here so you can follow along. And I hope to treat these like an open drawing, figure drawing session, where we can draw together and I can share, some advice and tips, and maybe I can also share like some different books that I would recommend, and different tips and things that I've learned from my own figure drawing teachers. And yeah, I really hope this will be enjoyable for you guys as much as it is for me, since I get to draw. And let's label the serratus muscles. Serratus. ridge muscles of the forearms. The navel, fancy word for belly button. Okay, so that was our torso study for the day. And I'm just going to close the shape down here so we have more of a solid graphic shape to look at. And add that little striation there. That's the hard thing, is knowing, when to stop. But I definitely recommend doing these types of studies where you're focusing on one part of the body, like not overwhelming yourself with a full figure. But I would also do full figure gestures as well. I would kind of keep those maybe separate. Maybe do a page of focused areas of the body, where you're saying, okay, with this sketch, I'm going to focus on the chest, the torso, the arms. This one, I'm going to focus on the legs. And here, I'm going to focus on the eyes, the ears, and then do a page where you do full figure gestures. I try to do at least one of these a day, and then do one page of gesture drawings. And then I try to do a page of master copies. And when I can, I try to also fit in a painting a day, just to give you an idea of like how much I try to train each morning to get better myself. And if you love to do it, it's not going to be a problem. I love every opportunity I have to draw, and so I hope you have that same passion, and it'll be easy to do these exercises as well. So thanks for following along, and until next time. Okay, bye.